Yes, yes. Yes, sir. We are in effect. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls all over the world. It is good to see you this evening. Y'all know where we at, and y'all know what we do. Y'all know what it is. It is Monday night. Chilltown Hoops. I am in effect. Um, let's get to it, man. Let's get to it. It's good to see you guys tonight. As always, you know where to find me. If I'm not here, I'm on the panel. And if I'm not on the panel, I'm here. And if I'm not here, I'm on Tuesday nights with my man Tony Tone. Y'all know what it is. So what's going on tonight, guys? How are things? I know that we talk a lot. And excuse me for 1 second. I'm sorry. I know we talk a lot about the greatest players, right? I know we do that. We talk a lot about the greatest players of all times, right? What up, Glow? How you doing? And I think that's dope, right? And I know that that's stuff that you guys want to talk about. I don't think we recognize teams nearly as much as we should, though. I don't think that we talk enough about teams as much as we should, because when I think about great teams, right, I think about what they did. I think about who they did it against. I think about when they did it. I think about how they did it and for how long they did it. That's always been my criteria when it comes to all-time greats. It's always been my criteria when whether it's players or teams. That's always been a part of my criteria. When we're talking about all-time greats, we're talking about guys who, what up, Armin? We're talking about teams. That's part of the criteria. What you did, when you did it, how you did it, who you did it against, and how long did you do it. That's part of the criteria. That's not the entire criteria, but that's definitely part of it. So when I think about the greatest teams of all time, one of the things I'm thinking about, I'm not really one of these guys who matches teams up against teams of the modern day, right? Because yes, sure, is your game timeless? I mean, that's part of being an all-time great. Can you do back then what you did today? Can you adjust to the game, right? Can you do that? That's a very important part, right? What up, great? What's up, greatness? Peace, brother. That's a very important part. You know, is your game timeless? That's very similar to team success. Like, can you still do it? And the reason why I say that is because I remember as a younger man, like going up against older dudes and trying to figure out why I couldn't do anything. Why I couldn't do anything against this dude that was 10 or 15 years older than me. Like, why can't I do anything against him? And I'm 18. Right? Why can't I stop him? Why can't I score on him? Because it's a thinking man's game too. So sure, I ain't as fast as you are anymore. I'm not as athletic as you are, but I could do the other stuff that can completely screw you all the way up. All the way up, I can do that. So with that being said, there's a list comprised of the best teams of all times, right? And when you think about the best teams of all times, what do you think about? One of the things you think about, one of the things I think about when I think about the best teams of all time, one of the things that I think about is winning. Like you can't win. I mean, like you can't be awesome and not win. No, that's part of the criteria. You have to win. That's very much like being an all-time great. Is your game? If I'm an all-time great player, is my game timeless? Okay, check. Did I dominate? Check. Well, you can't do these two things and not win. Right? That's very important. You can't do those two things and not win. Those two things do not work without that third thing. Mm-mm. That third thing is very important. That's why I think about great teams like the Golden State Warriors in 15-16. They're not on this list because you didn't finish the mission. That's why I think about the Utah Jazz in 98. They're not on this list. You didn't finish the job. No. That's why that's why when I think about great teams, like the like the Supersonics in 94, they were on their way to being awesome. They didn't finish the job though. No. Mm-mm. They did not. Houston did though. And be clear about this, guys, because a lot of you don't want to talk about it. And I've said this numerous times. I've said this numerous times to you guys. And when I say that teams duck smoke or that teams are happy when other teams get bounced, that is not an overstatement. That is not an overstatement. Don't think for 1 second they won't publicly say. You'll hear it from them 15 years from now, right? You'll hear it from them 20 years from now. You 100% will hear it from them 20 years from now as opposed to right now because, we're still in real time, right? We still in real time. So you're not going to hear it from them right now. It's going to be like when you see guys like Jeff Teague years later talk about, yo, we ain't want nothing to do with them. Or, yo, we would have beat them if this didn't happen. And the reason why, right? And the reason why that's the case is because I can't let you have an advantage on me. So I can't say that right now. But don't think for 1 second that the Dallas Mavericks, when they saw Denver get bounced, they weren't thinking, whew, we ain't got to see them dudes. I'm sure that the Lakers would have loved to have not seen Denver in the playoffs. Man, we ain't got to deal with them. Phew. Teams duck smoke all the time. Yes, they do. Teams are fortunate all the time. Why do you think that Houston Rockets team, in 1984, as awesome as they were, we would not be talking about them how we talk about them had Seattle not gotten bounced in round one. Had Denver not taken out Seattle in round one, we would not be talking about that Houston Rockets team in 1994 and how awesome Hakeem Olajuwon was. Even though this is the same team who started the season winning 22 of their first 23 games. They were rolling. I think they were 16-0 at one point. They were rolling. But had they run into Seattle, we wouldn't have this conversation. But thank Denver for allowing history to take place. Thank Denver for allowing history to take place. Otherwise, it would not have. No. How do I know that? Because it's not a coincidence that the Houston Rockets win the NBA championship in 94. Seattle's out of the playoffs. In 95, Seattle is out of the playoffs. And in 96, this is the back-to-back NBA champs, by the way, right? This isn't a good team. This isn't a great team. This is the back-to-back NBA champs. They run into Seattle in 96 in the playoffs, in the semifinals. Seattle smokes them in 4 games. Smokes them. Goodbye. So with that, right, with that being said, teams duck smoke all the time. Teams say that they want it. Yo, we'll play anybody. No, you don't. You do not. You say that, but in reality, that can't be further from the truth. In 2002, Tim Duncan, the San Antonio Spurs are yapping. They letting everybody know. The Lakers. This is the team we want to see. They didn't want nothing to do with the Lakers. They didn't. Of all the teams that they didn't want to see, they didn't want to see the Lakers. But they couldn't come out and say that. They couldn't. No way. Had Portland dealt with the Lakers in round one, Had Portland dealt with the Lakers in round one, San Antonio would have been like, whew. And they probably would have went on and won the NBA championship that year in 2002. Probably. I'm pretty confident that they would have went on to win the NBA championship that year had somebody else dealt with the Lakers. So there's a lot of fortune that goes into being a great team. A lot of it. Now, don't get me wrong. At some point, you got to come outside. Let's go. At some point, you got to come outside. You can't keep avoiding us. At some point, come on out here. You got to come outside. That's just part of it. If you want to be considered one of the best ever, right? If you want to be considered one of the best ever, you can't keep avoiding that matchup. You can't. At some point, you got to come outside. You have to. And when you do come outside and you do handle whomever it is that you got to handle, now they talk about you different. Prime example, team that I just talked about, the Lakers. There's a reason why they're talking about the Lakers in 2001 the way they talk about them. Why? Because that's the same San Antonio team 2 years ago that smoked them. They didn't see him the year before in 2000. Tim Duncan got hurt. So they didn't see him. And that was the logic. That was the logic that whole time. That the only reason why y'all went to the NBA Finals in 2000 was because San Antonio got hurt. Tim Duncan got hurt. Well, excuse me, here we are. It's 2001, and San Antonio is knocking on the door. Let's go. Come on outside. And the Lakers, being the half-a-mile freight train with no brakes, is like, okay, let's go. Let's go. That's the mark of a great team, because they proceeded to sweep San Antonio, smoking them in the last two games at home by 35 and 36. Smoked them. Straight destroyed them. Okay, so now we put that to bed. That's already done. So when I think about, again, when I think about great teams, what you did, how you did it, where you did it, when you did it, who you did it against. What you did, how you did it, how long did you do it, when did you do it, who did you do it against, what, where, when, how. Yes, absolutely. That stuff matters, man. What, where, when, how, and who. Once again, what, where, when, how, and who. All of that stuff is important. So there was this list comprised, and of this list that I have comprised, there are 13 teams on this list. And of those 13 teams, 3 of them got to go. Of these 13 teams that's on this list, I got the 76ers with Chamberlain, 71 Bucks, 72 Lakers, 83 Philly, 86 Boston, 92 Bulls, 96 Bulls, 2000 Lakers, 13 Heat, 17 Warriors, 05 Spurs, 01 Lakers, 87 Lakers. 3 of them teams got to go, right? 3 of those teams have to go. So I want to start the conversation with who? Who? So we'll start with your crew. Who was on your crew? So that 67 Philly team with Chamberlain, Hal Greer, and Wally, and the Rook Billy Cunningham. That's a pretty impressive unit. When did you guys do it? But we did it in the Celtic era. We did it in the era when the big bad wolf, nobody beat them. That's when we did it. Where did you do it? We did it in their building. And we did it in our building. Who, what, when, where, how? Where? We did it in their building. How long? It was that one season. But we were the only ones who did it. Can't nobody else say that they did it. Can't nobody else say that they did it except us. Nobody. So, with that being said, right? With that being said, Philly is on this list. And of those 13 teams that I told you, I'll start at the top. It was a split between the 71 Bucks and the 05 Spurs. So when I think about the 71 Bucks, Oscar was still damn good, but he was on the other side of who he was. Oscar wasn't what Oscar used to be. And Jabbar was only in year 2. He wasn't Jabbar yet. He was still Lou Alcindor. He was awesome. I think that season, I think he went 34 and I think he went 35 and 17 that year. They ended up that year they ended up in 71 beating the Celtics, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, they beat the Celtics in the finals in 71. With that being said, they had some fortune, like I just talked about, right? They had some fortune. What was the fortune? Well, the Lakers didn't have Jerry West that year. No Jerry West the whole season. They missed him. So, they ended up beating the Lakers in the West Finals in 71. And I think that was the year that they played the Bullets, I want to say. Yeah, I think they played the Bullets in 71, if I'm not mistaken. So they were pretty awesome. They won, I think they won 66 games that year. Were they better than the 05 Spurs, though? I think that was the height. I think that was the height of the Tim Duncan Spurs reign, that 2005 team. I think that's the best team he was on. Of all the teams, that 99 team, that 03 team, even though that 03 run was pretty impressive from him. That 03 run was pretty impressive from him. But I think that 05 team, I think that was the best team he was on. And he was at his best at that point. He was definitely at his best at that point. So I got to take that Milwaukee Bucks team off, and I'm going with the Spurs at 10. At 9, and this was not as difficult for me. At 9, I had Philly, that 83 Philly team. So the year before in 82, they lost to the Lakers in the finals in 6 games. Both Magic and Jabbar just dominated them. They couldn't really do anything. So you got Mo Cheeks at the 1, Andrew Toney at the 2, Doc at the 3, Bobby Jones at the 4, and Darryl Dawkins at the 5. There's a spot that I got a problem with, right? And that spot is at the 5 spot. Darryl Dawkins. So take Darryl Dawkins out into Moses Malone. Oh, boy. Uh-oh. So now I got Mo Cheeks at the 1, Andrew Toney at the 2, Doc at the 3, Bobby Jones, one of the best defensive forwards, who could score, by the way, forwards of all time. And now you want to add Moses to that. I mean, they won 65 games that year. Moses was the league MVP. They marched through the playoffs. Straight marched through the playoffs. And remember what I told you. Remember this, right? I want you to remember this. When I told you earlier about every team having a nemesis, so when The Rockets won it. They were able to avoid Seattle. Well, that was Milwaukee's problem. That was the Milwaukee Bucks problem right there. They kept running into Philly. That Milwaukee Bucks team in '83 was awesome. Swept the Celtics out the playoffs with Bird, with Parrish, with McHale. Smoked them out the playoffs. Problem is, they kept running into Philly. Philly had their number. And that was a damn good Milwaukee team. Damn good Milwaukee team. With Sidney Moncrief. Jack Sikma. That was a damn good Milwaukee team. Let me tell you. They just kept running into Philly. Philly was the difference in them winning. Remember what I told you with Seattle and Houston? That was a 3-ring circus. Seattle had Houston's number. Phoenix had Seattle's number. Houston had Phoenix's number. Well, same logic went on during that time. Milwaukee, they had the biggest problem with Philly. Philly had the biggest problem with Boston. Boston had the biggest problem with Milwaukee. Biggest problem with Milwaukee. So that Philly team, when you add Moses, there's really no answer for them. And the reason why they didn't win more was because Andrew Toney tore up his Achilles. And they were never the same after that. He was never the same after that. Doc was a little older, right? Doc was definitely older, but he still was awesome. He still was awesome. And with Andrew Toney going down, that kind of sunk them. It did. But I'll go with Philly at 9. At number 8, and I struggled with this. And the reason why I struggled with it is because I feel like, to be honest with you, I mean, they were, at that time, they were touted as the best team that the NBA had ever seen. When, if I'm being honest with you guys, I don't know if I feel like that, to be honest with you. And the reason why I don't know if I feel like that is because I thought the '87 Lakers, I thought they were better. I did. I honestly did. But if you think about that Celtic team in '86, they have 5 Hall of Famers on that crew. They have 5 Hall of Famers on that crew. They had Bird, Magic, McHale, Dennis Johnson, and Bill Walton. And they had a damn good rotation. A damn good rotation. So I would have to put I think they won 67 games that year. Yeah, they had won 67 games that year, and in the process of them winning 67 games, I mean, they stormed through the playoffs. It would have been nice if the Lakers could have got past Houston. That would have been nice because there was something that could have gotten settled. There's something that 100% could have gotten settled had the Lakers been able to get past Houston. But they couldn't. They just couldn't. With a team like that, 67 wins. Bird was at his best at that point in '86. That was probably the best version of Bird in '86. That was the best Bird that there was. Better than '84 Bird. And I almost want to put 88 Bird in front of 86 Bird, but 86 Bird was incredible. He was in 86 Bird was absolutely incredible. So I got Philly at 8. And then I have another tie. I got the 12-13 Heat and the 87 Lakers. Now the 12-13 Heat, they did something that was pretty phenomenal. I think they won 28 straight games that year, 27 or 28 straight games that year. They won 66 games. That was peak James. That wasn't James being good. That wasn't James being great. That was James at his best. That was the best version of James. Very much like any version of any great player. That was the best version of James in 2013. They had won 27 straight games, and they didn't struggle in the playoffs as much as they didn't walk through the playoffs as much as I would have liked to have seen them walk through the playoffs. I mean, they handled Charlotte in the first round. They did do that. They ended up in a dogfight with Indiana in 13. And then they ended up in a 7-game dogfight with Indiana. And then they also ended up in a dogfight in a 7-game series with San Antonio. That game 7 goes into overtime. Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry, that game 6 goes into overtime. So if it wasn't, if that doesn't happen, they lose. Like I said, James was at his best. But if I think about that crew, overall, they had one of the best defenses in the league at that time. But if I think about that crew, were they better than were they better? Did they do more than the 87 Lakers? Because I think the 87 Lakers, I think that's the team that topped the 86 Celtics. And I'm going to explain to you why Miami has to come off this list when I get to the other team. But I think the 87 Lakers are at 7 off the strength that they marched through the playoffs. Jabbar had relinquished the reins. And now Jabbar becomes the second option. In fact, the third option. Magic is the first option. James Worthy now has become what he is becoming. Because I don't know if you guys remember this, but James Worthy led the Lakers in scoring in the playoffs in 87. Nobody talks about that. No. He led the Lakers in scoring in 87 in the playoffs, and nobody talks about that nearly as much as they should. So 87, I'll take the 87 Lakers at 7. At 6, this is where it also gets tricky. And when I say it gets tricky, because now I got another tie. That 99-2000 Laker team, remember what I just said about James? Hi, Kenny. Remember what I said about James? That was the best version of him. 2000, that was the best version of Shaq. That was the best version of him, no questions asked. He was phenomenal. He actually should have won league MVP unanimously that year. That crew had been together for a while with him, Robert Horry, Bryant, Derek Fisher, Brian Shaw, Rick Fox. That crew had been together for a while. They won 67 games that year. The problem is, running into a Sacramento team that they ended up taking them to the distance. I'm thinking Sacramento the Lakers should have handled them in 5 games. Should have handled them. Only except they didn't. They should have handled them in 3 games. I mean, I'm sorry. Because it was a 5-game series. They should have handled them in 3 games. Next thing you know, Lakers are in an elimination game. They end up handling Phoenix in the next round in the semifinals. And they're in a dogfight with the Trailblazers, who they were up 3-1 against. And Portland gets back in the series. Right? Portland gets back in the series. With Portland getting back in the series, that becomes a 7-game series, and Portland just choked it. They choked it. Because 100% Portland had them dudes beat. They're up 15 with 7.5 minutes. They had those dudes beat. Lakers come back and win it. Impressive with Shaq being at his best? Yes, impressive. Not more impressive than the 01 Lakers, though. I'm on record. That's the best team Shaq ever been on. Of all the teams that he's ever been on, that 01 team was the best team he'd ever been on. Better than 2000, better than 2002, better than the Miami Heat in 06, better than Miami Heat in 05. better than all of them dudes. Better than them. Marched through the playoffs. They were dealing with some adversity. Kobe Bryant comes back that next year, and he's trying to assert himself as the man. I want to show that I've improved. I want to show that I got better. It kind of screwed with the chemistry of the unit. In the process of them doing that, they struggled early. Bryant goes out of the lineup with about a month or so left in the season. He goes out of the lineup for a couple of weeks. And with that happening, I see what they end up doing. What up, Big Ox? What's up, brother? With that happening, I now see them. They now get on the same page. Shaq gets the dominant space. In the process of them doing that, they go on a roll. And they don't lose a game, right? They get Bryant back in the lineup. They don't lose a game for the rest of the season. For the rest of the regular season in the Western Conference, they don't lose a game. They went for like a month straight where they don't win a game. I mean, they don't lose a game. I'm sorry. They mopped everybody. So I got to put that and the only reason why they didn't sweep Philly because they had 9 days off. Philly plays the Milwaukee Bucks on Sunday in the East Finals in Game 7. Game 1 for the NBA championship is Wednesday. Who would you rather fight? Because I can tell you who I would rather fight. I would rather fight somebody that was sitting around. I don't want to fight somebody who just got finished kicking somebody's ass. Because their attitude is, I'll kick your ass too. Right now, it's not a coincidence Philly didn't win another game for the rest of the series. Yep, it's not a coincidence that Philly did not win another game for the rest of that series. So I'm taking that 2001 team over that 99 Laker team, 99-2000 Laker team at 6. At 5, I'll take that Philly team in 67 with Chamberlain and Wally and Chet. How awesome they were, how awesome Chamberlain was changing his game. They're the only team to beat the Celtics in that decade. No other team can say that they did that. No other team say that they beat them. Nobody. So because nobody else can say that they did that, that's what's that right there is what's important to me. The fact that you did something, that nobody else can say that they did. And that 66-67 Philly team, they were just too much. I think Chamberlain won the league MVP that year. That wasn't, and that wasn't even the best version of him. That might have been the best version of him. I'm just not sure. I think maybe 64. That might have been the best version of him. I'm not sure. So I'll take that Philadelphia 76ers team at 6. I mean at 5, I'm sorry. At 4, and I struggle with this one. And the reason why I struggle with this one is because I think that there's a real conversation between the 92 Bulls and the 96 Bulls. I struggle with this because that was the best version of Jay. I got the 92 Bulls team at 4, right? I got the 94. I got the 92 Bulls team at 4. Ox, do not listen to the lunch show because that's exactly what he is. He's out the lunch. I'm sorry, Ox. I wanted to go over this today. I actually wanted to go over this today on the show, but we ended up running out of time. That's why I didn't say nothing. Maybe I'll bring it to the table tomorrow, right? Maybe I'll bring it to the table tomorrow and see how the fellas feel about it. Maybe we can talk about it. I'm not sure how you might feel about it. But anyway, I struggle with 94, right? I struggle with the 92 Bulls and the 96 Bulls because in 92, that was the best version of Jordan. I feel like Scottie Pippen was turning into Scottie Pippen at that point. He was in year 5. What's up, S? How you doing, brother? He was in year 5, and he probably was who he was, but he was fantastic. And Horace Grant was an all-league defender, could guard on the wing, could guard in the post, had a money mid-range game at that point. That crew had been together for a long time. They had a great rotation. John Paxson was one of the better long ball shooters. B.J. Armstrong, one of the better better rotation guards in the league. And I got to tell you, man, that was the best version of Jordan. It just was. It was definitely the best version of him, without a doubt. I have them at 4. With me having them at 4, and again, I do struggle with the 92 and the 96 Bulls team. I do struggle with those two. But what that 96 Bulls team did was something that was phenomenal. At 3, I got the 72 Lakers, and I think that goes without saying, considering Elgin Baylor ends up retiring in the first 7 or 8 games. I don't think he played 10 games that year. He ends up retiring. In the process of him retiring, the Lakers go on to win 33 straight games, which is an NBA record to this day. That was over 50 years ago that happened when they did that. Over 50 years. That's why I took the Miami Heat off, because the Miami Heat were close to doing what the Lakers did. I can't put you on here when somebody else already did surpass what you was trying to do. They already passed that. Chamberlain was past his peak, but he was still in his prime. In 72, I think Chamberlain was 33. He finished second, I think, that year in league MVP votes. He averaged almost 20 and 20 in the finals. Went up against Jabbar in the West Finals. Jabbar got busy too. I think Jabbar went like 34 and 16, something crazy like that. But Chamberlain averaged almost 20 rebounds, and then they smoked the Knicks. Completely smoked the Knicks in 5 games. Right? They end up smoking the Knicks in 5 games in that NBA Finals. They were one of the best teams that the NBA had ever seen. And they weren't really that talented. If you look at the other talented groups that Chamberlain played with, like Philly in 64, right? Philly in 62, Philly in 67, the Lakers in 69. He was on more talented groups. He was with more talented groups. But that crew in particular in 72, when Elgin Baylor goes out of the lineup, they're something else. The ball is moving more. They're moving more. The offense, they're running the offense through Chamberlain. And with them running the offense through Chamberlain, Chamberlain's one of those guys who he affected the game so much on both ends of the floor. He affected the game as a glass cleaner, as a defender, as a distributor. He affected the game way more than people give him credit for. In 72, they had set a record. They had won 68 games that year. Yep. 68. I think they won 68 games that year. 68 or 69 games that year that they won. No, they won 68 games. Yeah, they won 68 games that year. And they won the NBA championship. At number 2, the Golden State Warriors in 17. There aren't many teams that I could say, there's really not much to say about that Golden State Warrior team. So what you're going to do is you're going to have the best offense. At that time, it was the best offense that the NBA had ever seen in NBA history. There wasn't an offense that was better than what you saw in 2016 with the Golden State Warriors. Now you're going to add 27 a game to that. You're going to add arguably the best scorer in the game to that. Now, they also had some fortune, which goes back to my original logic when I talked to you guys about being fortunate enough. They had some fortune, right? Because if they don't have fortune, I ain't saying that they don't beat San Antonio if Leonard doesn't get hurt, but I'm definitely saying they're not sweeping San Antonio. That's not happening. Especially after watching San Antonio smoke them on opening night by 30. I'm sorry, by 29 they beat them, not 30. They beat them by 29 and had them in the chokehold in the West Finals in game 1. And then Leonard gets hurt. And then that's it. Series is over. Series is done. And they end up marching through the playoffs. And they destroyed everybody, including that Cavs team, smoked them in 5 games. Even though the matchup, some people would say the matchup was pretty even. No, it wasn't. It was even the year before. When Curry, Clay, Steph got their crew back, and James, Irv, and Kevin Love got their crew back. It was pretty even. The scale got tipped because the Golden State Warriors added KD. There's nothing you can do about that. Nothing. So they were one of the better defensive teams in the game. I think they were a top 5 defense that year. KD was in the top 10 in the league in defensive player of the year. That was one of his best defensive seasons at that point. I think Draymond, if Draymond wasn't defensive player of the year, he was defensive player of the year because Leonard won it the year before. That was Draymond at his best. Steph Curry at that point, I feel like Steph is in his peak. These are peak Steph Curry years. Klay Thompson, I don't think Klay Thompson is peak Klay Thompson yet. I think we getting there. I think next year, I think 18, 19, that's when I'm seeing peak Klay Thompson. I do think that I do think that Klay Thompson in 2015 and 2015, he's in his prime. I do believe that. But I feel like maybe 18, 19, these are peak Klay Thompson years. And we didn't get to see as many peak Klay Thompson years as I would like because he tore his knee up. And then he tore his Achilles up, rehabbing his knee. He did do that. So they had won 67 games that year. The ball was hopping like a hot potato. And not only was the ball hopping, a guy like KD, who was basically getting the same shots with the Golden State Warriors that he was getting in Oklahoma City. Only difference is he had 2 and 3 guys hanging on him. He only had 1 guy on him. That's why it looked so different. It looked way different off the strength that he only had 1 guy hanging on him. And there was really no answer for those guys. None. KD was the difference. He was. And there's no misunderstanding that. If you don't understand that, then I have a difficult time explaining it to you. When you have, if you can imagine the 96 Bulls adding, the 96 Bulls, imagine them adding Shaq. Ain't nobody beating them. And since we're on the subject of the 96 Bulls, the best team of all time, the 1996 Bulls, you have to finish the job. You can't be awesome all the way up to 90 yards and then get tripped up at the goal line. You can't. You have to finish the job. You have to. And that 96 Bulls team, that's exactly what they did. They finished the job and destroyed everybody. Name them. They destroyed them. With the exception of Seattle in that finals, which, if I'm being honest with you, if I'm being honest with you, they should have swept Seattle. They should have 100% swept Seattle. Seattle shouldn't have won a game in that series. Yes, the switch of putting Gary Payton on to Michael Jordan, because he did slow him down, started wearing on him, pushing him out of the post a little bit, crowding him in the mid-range, not letting him get to the basket nearly as much, putting the body on him, wore Jordan down. Now, if you let Mike tell it, I had no problem with the glove. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. You 100% had a big problem with him. If you didn't, then y'all would have swept him. And don't tell me that, yo, my mind was somewhere else. I'm not trying to hear that. Y'all should have swept them dudes, but when even though y'all didn't sweep them, everything that they did up until that point, I mean, they had 3 guys that year make first team all defense. I don't ever remember that happening in the history of the league. Having 3 guys make first, not having 3 guys make the all defensive team, having 3 guys off a team be first team all defense. That was Mike, Scotty, and Dennis. That was Michael, Scotty, and Dennis. And maybe you guys can straighten me out, but I don't ever remember a team having 3 guys be first team all defense in the same year. I don't ever remember that happening. They were the highest scoring team in the league. They were rolling. Jordan led the league in scoring that year. Both him and Scottie Pippen were both first team all NBA. I think Scottie Pippen was a bona fide top 5 player at that time. I don't think it was a question of whether or not he was a top 5 player. I think he was a bona fide top 5 player in 1996. So those are the 3 teams that have to go. The 2000 Lakers, the 12-13 Heat, and the 71 Bucks. They got to go. So I want to hear from you guys, though. I do. I want to hear from you guys. When you think about the best teams of all times, what are you thinking about? What up?
Chill, chill, chill. I was with you, brother, until you got to them 72 Lakers, and that's when I bowed out. I
Mm,
I can't I can't ride with you on that one, man. That team is really good, and don't get me
mm,
wrong. I respect. I love Jerry West. Jerry West is one of my favorite players of all time. However, there was this thing going on called the ABA,
mm-hmm.
and that split the talent pool in
Yep.
2 different places.
Sure.
I can't, and that's the same reason I couldn't. I never was on board with that Bucks team being a great team, or the Knicks team being a great team, or even the Golden State team with Rick Barry. I never give
75.
I never give I never give those teams a lot of credit because the pool is so split up.
Mm,
I mean, if the league was whole,
yep.
absolutely, I'd have been 100% with you.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is, you said it and then you reneged on it. You said the 92 team was better than 96. And
I struggle with it. I struggle with it. I do. I really do. I struggle with
chill,
that.
it
I
ain't no
do.
struggle.
I
That
do.
ain't no
Struggle with it.
struggle.
'Cause there's a part
It,
of me that feels like that they were better, man. There's a part of me that feels like that 92 team was better than that 96 team.
it is better. Ain't no
Ugh,
struggle. That
I have
92, chill. Look at that. Look how that team was built. You had the 3-headed monster of Horace Grant, who could easily give you what 17 and 13 rebounds and great defense. You had Scottie Pippen in 92. Gearing up for the Olympics, and you had Michael Jordan at his apex.
that was the
If
best
the
version of Jordan.
92 played 96, they would. I'm not saying they would kill 96 because I think the defense for 96 is really good with
Hmm.
Ron Harper and Dennis Rodman.
Right.
But offensively, they can't keep up. Chill, they can't.
So
Not
if you
that
think
Jordan.
if you think about I want to rewind real quick, Minor. So if you think about that 96, not 96, I'm sorry, if you think about the ABA during that time, was the ABA at its apex in 72? Because Jabbar
No.
was Jabbar was in the NBA. Chamberlain was in the NBA. Jerry West was in the NBA. Elgin Baylor was in the NBA. Oscar
Okay.
Robertson, he was on the other side of who he used to be. Bill Russell was gone. Walt Frazier was in the NBA. Nate Thurman
Mm-hmm.
was in the NBA. Now, when I
Mm-hmm.
think about the guys in the ABA, I don't think Pistol Pete showed up yet. And I don't think Pistol Pete was better than Jerry West. So I won't even have that conversation. There's no big guy that was in the ABA during that time that was better than Chamberlain. None of them dudes. No Artist
Seven,
Gilmore. No Moses didn't show up until 70, I think 73 or 74.
I
But
thought it was 74.
yeah,
Yeah.
none of those big guys in the ABA during that time, or not Earl Tatum. Who am I thinking about? I used to play for the Pacers. None of those big guys was better than
Mel
Jabbar.
Daniels.
That's what I'm thinking about. Mel Daniels. None of them big guys was better than Chamberlain. Even that time in 72, Chamberlain or second year Jabbar. None of them dudes were. Not any of them.
I I agree with that statement, but the reason you held that team in such high regard was the winning streak that they ran on. If the teams have those pieces that are missing because they're in the ABA, they ain't running off that winning streak, chill.
Oh
They
no, man.
not.
That's the thing you miss, Minor. That Laker team, and Chamberlain is on record saying, I've been on more talented teams. I've never been on a team this good. Never been on a team this good. With Gail Goodrich, Jerry West, and Chamberlain. I think the
I,
difference, and I'm going on record because I'm a Mets fan, it was the curse of David Wright. Once Elgin Baylor was gone, it was completely different. Once
it
Elgin,
was. I hear you.
Once Elgin Baylor stepped out, you seen a completely different unit. The ball was hopping. They were better on defense. They were faster in transition. That team was just much better without Elgin Baylor. And that doesn't mean that Elgin wasn't awesome, because he was. And the offense
Uh,
changed.
yeah.
And
I
the
mean,
offense
at
changed.
that point, Elgin was done.
He
He
was
was
over.
done by that point. He
He
was done.
I think he quit, and it was 10 games into the season, and he quit. He was like, I'm out.
But
It was
I'm
over.
just saying, I think that team is awesome. I do. Do I think they still do that legendary win streak? I do not. I don't. I think somebody can pop them at least once. And then we're looking at they may still they very well may win the championship that year. But I don't think that team is held in high regard anymore, or as high regard as it is because of the win streak that they had in the regular season.
I think
And
that with putting a win streak as the kicker, I mean, I feel like that's a big deal off the strength that an ABA team, or not even an ABA team, I'm sorry, even though there were ABA teams that played against NBA teams and beat them.
they did. Hmm.
That was going on during that time. They play in the summertime, and
Hmm.
there are NBA teams that would beat them. However, when I think about the unit that they had in 72, I'm having a difficult time believing that an ABA team could have stopped what they were doing. They were the '01 Lakers before the '01. They were a half a mile freight train with no brakes. That's what they were. And if you go get the Utah Stars, if you go get the Pacers or the Spurs, they not beating them. They not the way they were rolling. I don't see it. Sorry, Mike. Sorry, Mike. I don't see it.
And you got to stop the. I can't believe you got Golden State over the 2001 Lakers. Chill.
Mm-hmm.
Come on. Come on, chill.
The way they was rolling, man, and again, here's the difference. I think what you seeing, Minor, is I think you seeing the Golden State Warriors playing the 2001 Lakers. No, I'm not seeing that. I'm seeing the Golden
Oh
State
no,
Warriors.
that wouldn't even be
No,
a much of a
mm-mm.
game. But I'm just
I ain't
talking
talking
about
about that.
I'm comparing their dominance.
Right.
And there were instances where we looked at that Golden State team and said, "Hold on, are they
Somebody might be able to beat
really?
them.
Are they really that good?" Because that I was watching that game against Golden State and San Antonio, and Kawhi was killing them.
If
Kawhi
he don't get
and
hurt,
Ginobili.
Minor, if he doesn't get hurt, they beat them in that game.
So I don't know if I can't say without a shadow of a doubt that team is substantially better than 2001. 2001 wiped the floor with everybody.
But they struggled in the regular.
Everybody.
But the difference is that they struggled in the regular season. That was the
Yeah,
difference. They had the
but when it was
nonsense going on between him and Kobe. They had the
true,
nonsense going on between Shaq and Kobe, and that kind of tore at the fabric of the unit. But They ended up getting it together, and you saw what happened when the playoffs started. I mean, like the last month of the season, they didn't lose a game, right? They didn't lose a game until they lost to Philly. It was like the
Exactly.
last month of the season. So, I mean,
And it wasn't even a close game. It was a close game against Philly. So
yeah, they
come
lost in
on,
overtime.
chill.
Yeah, they lost in overtime.
Come on, chill.
But with that
He-
being said, I could say the same thing about the Golden State Warriors. They ain't like they ain't win the NBA championship. They mopped the floor with everybody. They swept the Western Conference, served everybody. They didn't lose a game in the Western Conference. They ended up losing that one game on the road. They ended up losing that one game on the road to Cleveland. But other than that, they mopped the floor with everybody. Had a better regular season record. Were rolling in the regular season. So,
Yeah, but that
sorry,
team is
brother.
cheap, man. All right, chill.
That,
I'll let you. I just don't be disrespecting 92 though. That's crazy.
no,
I can't
I
believe
struggle
that,
with it. I struggle with it. That's all. I just do. And why is it
man.
ridiculous that a team in '96 that finished the actual job, 172 games, only lost 10 games that whole year, had and I again, I struggle with it. I just do. I just have a
I'm
hard
gonna
time with
say it like this. I don't know how versed you are in comic books, but there's Superman and there's Captain Marvel. He was Captain Marvel in '96. He was Superman in '92.
it.
And I'm gonna just leave it like that.
All right, brother. Good to talk to you. Absolutely. I do struggle with it, man. I do. I have a real difficult time with that 92 and that 96 bull, that 90, because there's a part of me that feels like that 92 Bulls team is the best team they ever had. Better than 91, better than 97, the team that won 69 games. Yeah, better than them. I struggle with that. So what up, yo? I do have a difficult time with that. So, but it's not like it's a situation where it's not like it's a situation where that 96 Bulls team, they didn't win it. I mean, they did win it, right? They ended up winning the NBA championship that year. In the process of them winning the NBA championship, I mean, they rolled through the playoffs. Um, they did everything necessary. They were rolling. So I do struggle with that. Yes, I do. What up?
Well, sure, Jimmy.
What's going on, brother?
What's up? What's up? What's up? Yeah. So, I think to be fair, I disagree with you on a little bit of your list. I think everything else is kind of intact. And the 73 Lakers, I might not put them as high. 32 Lakers, not put them as high. But that 33 win streak kind of does move me. The fact that they also lost Elgin Baylor early in the season. Like he retired, he had a full retirement ceremony. Nobody thought they was going to make the finals, and then they started to run off the 33 games. And the fact that when Miami Heat came close in 2013, everybody was like, they're going to break the record. But they were still like 7 games away from breaking that record.
Amari, think
And
about that for a second, Amari. They didn't lose a game for almost 2 months.
yeah.
Like if we got a team running around in the NBA today that didn't lose a game for almost 2 months, like how we talking about?
That's one of the greatest teams of all time. And even the
Man,
Miami Heat team was looked at as dominant. I mean, that game against the Bulls, though, that was a special game. And when the Bulls beat them for game 29, I mean, the
yeah,
Bulls, they sucker punched Miami Heat. And it looked like they were just, I don't know, like it was one of the biggest upsets I've ever seen because the way the Bulls and no D Rose, none of that kind of stuff. So that was
yep.
great. But they were still far away. But that 2017, the reason why I put the 2017 Warriors as the greatest team of all time over the Bulls and the Lakers team, I might even switch because I don't think the Bulls team was as great as the Lakers team. But the 2017 Warriors, that was special. That was
I mean,
it was
Amari, like you're a knowledgeable guy. So if you look at any great team, so the 23 Denver Nuggets, as good as they are, right? As good as that 23 Denver Nuggets team is, put Kawhi Leonard on that team and put 16 Kawhi Leonard on that team.
a problem.
Who beating them?
Nobody beating them.
Nobody beating them. As good as good as that Denver Nuggets team was, how they were rolling. Take Kawhi Leonard and put him on that crew. And I'm doing it relative to era, right? Take that 96 Bulls team that won 72 games. Take Shaq and put him on that team. That's what happened in 17 with the Golden State Warriors. That's what happened when KD got on that crew.
You took a guy who was basically unstoppable when being doubled, and then you gave him single coverage, and then you said work with that. And
How?
like and in 2017, there was like, to be fair, like the ease that Kevin Durant played at was was nuts. Like there was something about him. He just looked smooth every time he'd run up the court, pull up jumper from free, and it was getting like deeper and deeper. His 3-point shots, he was single covered. Like he wasn't even posting up much at all. Kevin Durant, he would just get the ball. Either he would kind of pump fake and do a cut. Like Kevin Durant was the most complete version of himself in 2017. And you had Steph, who a lot of the time that sometimes they were throwing a double at Steph, but again you couldn't double Steph. You couldn't double off Steph. You couldn't double off Clay. You had to play everybody single coverage. And watching that final series, I mean, I've never, like, when you people say, "Oh, it was an even series," like, you didn't watch that game. Those games.
No, it wasn't.
That was the most once I've never seen a series like that. When you watch the series, you say, "Oh, this team has a chance." You knew from game one, "Oh, this time."
No, they didn't.
But, to be fair, if you actually watched that season, you knew from the Martin Luther King game they didn't have a chance when Cleveland lost by 55. I've never seen a game like that, man. I've never seen a team lose in the first quarter. They
got destroyed.
They destroyed everything. Like it was, and even the San Antonio series, I think people look at that game one, but the fact that they were down 27 and then came back, you know how hard that is to come. I've never seen an offense just keep clicking. And even when they were off, they were still on that Golden State Warriors team. I mean, it was almost biblical. I mean, like the way and that version of LeBron James, in my opinion, people say 2018, that LeBron James was the last of the prime LeBron. Like he moved like he was still floating, like LeBron James in 2017.
Coming into the 17th season, he was on top of the world.
He was the best player.
Top of the world.
That was the best season. 2018, I feel like he pulled a lot, and a lot of that reserve in his tank left him. Yep. After that, and that's why you start to see the injuries. But 2017, LeBron James was special. Like he was still solid. The team wasn't great defensively, but he was still solid defensively. Mm-hmm. He was getting into his offense well, like the way he was playing against the Indiana Pacers in that series. But the way those Golden State Warriors team played was just they couldn't be stopped. The only thing when you said about the Shaq and Kobe Lakers, I want to just compare it. You saying they struggled in the regular season. Didn't they struggle, or did they take their foot off the gas when they realized?
No, they struggled. The reason why they struggled because there was an identity issue early on in the season. Kobe Bryant came back in that 2000-2001 season, and he was on tilt. He wanted to show that what you had seen the year before wasn't him. I have improved and I've gotten better. And people just expected him to fall in line and let Shaq be the man. And that was not what he was trying to hear. No, I am Shaq better.
The season as well.
Yes. I'm just better than Kobe Bryant. Did not want to be viewed as Scottie Pippen. He did not want to be viewed as a guy that was just a complimentary player. I'm better than that. And I want to show that I'm better than that. And there was an identity issue early with that Laker team. They struggled early on, but then they got it together. They did. They got it together, though.
It was Kobe Bryant that was the one that destroyed the Spurs. I think a lot of people kind of don't remember that. I think he averaged did he average 33 in that series against the Spurs?
33, 7-7. He was destroying them.
He was killing them. Shaq never really played that way again. But the fact that they single-handedly manhandled the Spurs, and then after that game one, of the Philadelphia 76ers series, I mean, even in that game, didn't Shaq go for 40 in that game, in game one?
I'm on record saying, Amari, back then, I said Philly won't win another game in this series. I said that.
And it wasn't close after that point. I mean, they
smoked them in every game. I said Philly's not winning another game in this series. I'm willing to bet anybody Philly ain't winning another game in this series. I said that.
And it was bad. Like the way Shaq played Dikembe Mutombo, who was probably one of the best defenders maybe ever. Like if you want to put him,
he was the defensive player of the year that year, Amari. He was the defensive player of the year. So essentially, what we saw with Joker and Rudy, I want you to times that by 5. That's what Shaq did to Dikembe Mutombo.
It was abuse. It was abuse. It was abuse.
That's really the only other word you can use. You can't use another word, Amari. That was the word right there.
I saw one play where Shaq backed up Dikembe. Dikembe's body went up, and then somehow Shaq lifted his hips up and then kind of just dunked it over Dikembe. And Dikembe was looking, because I think Dikembe didn't want a double off Shaq. He wanted a single coverage of Shaq. He said he can take him one-on-one. And that was the game formula that the Pistons used, but they did it differently. But the Kembe was getting tortured. But that 2017 and the 96 Bulls, I think, because they completed the task, 72 and 10, I think your list is pretty fine. To be the only maybe admission I might put is the 2013 Heat at number 10, just because they had the 28 game win streak.
The reason why the reason why I took them off is because I already have a team that did something similar to that, except better. That's why I took them off for that reason.
Yeah,
right there.
I hear it.
That's it
Yeah,
right
I
there.
hear it.
So.
I hear it.
All right, brother.
Thank
Good to
you.
talk to you. You know where to find me at. All right, guys. It's good to see you tonight. It's about that time. It is good to see you tonight. You guys know where to find me. If I'm not here, I'm on the panel Monday to Friday, 11 to 2. If I'm not there, I'm here on Monday nights. Tuesday nights, I'm right here with my man Tony Tone. We gets busy. That's what we do. If I'm not here, you can find me with me and my man Big Ox on Saturday. Chill with Chill, 12 o'clock Eastern. That's what we do. And I know where to find you guys at. So I will see you guys soon. Until then, put on a suit, drink water. Don't drink and drive, man. Call your mother. When last time you talked to your mother? Call your mother. I will talk to you guys soon. But until then, take it light, but take it.